Ever wonder what happens when a politician just goes off script? Today we're going to break down some moments from a recent speech where things veered way off the teleprompter. And trust me, it reveals a whole lot more than the prepared text ever could.
Right, so what happens when a political speech goes off script? Well, these are the moments that can tell you so much more than a prepared text, you know? It's like a peek behind the curtain into what a speaker really thinks, their priorities, their philosophy, even their political gut instincts. So today, we're going to dig into a really fascinating example and see what we can pull from it.
Okay, so here's the deal. We're breaking down 4 key moments from a recent speech by Donald Trump, and our analysis is based on a source transcript from what was called a faith event. We're going to look at these unscripted asides and figure out what they tell us, sticking strictly to what's reported in that transcript. All right, let's jump right in. Moment number 1 is all about some pretty direct and very personal remarks aimed at specific political figures. So the source transcript really highlights a series of comments that were just intensely personal, right? We're talking aimed squarely at individuals, going way beyond your typical policy back and forth. Take this one, on J.D. Vance. Now, what's interesting here is that according to the source, this jab comes at a time when Vance was reportedly trying to, create a little distance from Trump on certain issues. So that adds a whole other layer of political context, doesn't it? And it wasn't just about individuals. The speech also got into these really broad, sweeping generalizations about Somali immigrants in Minnesota. The transcript makes a point to include this. And the off-the-cuff remarks just kept coming. This time, targeting Representative Ilhan Omar with a pretty pointed and specific accusation.
Okay, so after those attacks on other people, the speech kind of pivots to this moment of, self-revelation. This is our second key moment, an admission about personal loyalty. And honestly, it might give us a framework for understanding everything that came before it.
So in an unscripted aside, the speaker kind of explained his view on personal loyalty. And the source transcript really flags this next bit as a major off-the-cuff admission, like he paused to lay out one of his guiding principles. And here it is. That's about as direct as it gets, right? It's a statement that basically says, personal loyalty can trump, everything else, even if you think someone's a bad person.
And this is really important. The commentary in the source material makes a direct connection between that statement and figures like Jeffrey Epstein and Vladimir Putin. The idea is that this philosophy might just be the key to understanding his past comments about them.
So, you might be asking, how does this loyalty above all thing translate into actual policy? Well, let's get into moment number 3, where the speech takes a really firm stance on domestic spending. It creates a pretty stark choice.
Yeah, the speech laid out this really clear contrast, almost like a balance sheet of federal priorities. On one side, what we can't fund, and on the other, what we can fund.
And this quote really lays it all out. So the message is explicit. Funding for wars comes first, before federal funding for things like daycare. Okay, so let's recap. We've got the personal remarks, the big statement on loyalty, and a hardline policy stance. So what happens next? Well, the final part of our explainer looks at the reported political fallout from all this. The source we're using draws a direct line from the tone of this speech to recent polling data, suggesting there's been a real drop in approval ratings. And they get specific, pointing to a CNN poll. Look at these reported changes in approval. We see a big drop with men, a pretty steep drop with seniors, but interestingly, not much change at all with white voters who don't have a college degree. But it's not just about approval ratings. The source also points to this number, 65%, which has to do with something much more personal, people's wallets. Yeah, according to that same poll, 65% of respondents feel his policies are actually worsening their economic conditions. That's a huge majority feeling a negative financial impact. So all of this leaves us with a really big question, doesn't it? When you lay it all out, the personal jabs, the policy statements, the polling fallout, how much do these unscripted, off-the-cuff moments actually matter in a political campaign? It's something you really have to think about if you want to understand politics today.